Hi, I'm Rod for the AI Engineer. We are the AI community for hackers. Every day we learn how to build AI apps using LLMs and generative AI. Today I want to talk about those companies who belong pretty much to the era of the modern data stack of building things out of the warehouse and who at first glance might not be really related to this era of generative AI, but we as AI engineers might want to have in our radar. Databricks and Snowflake. In this comment, I will focus my attention on Snowflake. Soon, I will do something similar for Databricks. What is Snowflake in a nutshell? Snowflake is pretty much a cloud data warehouse that enables anyone to easily create very robust data warehouses. Very simple. This type of technology has been around for a while. And by now, almost every medium company, let alone large companies, they have some sort of data warehouse in their organization. This is primarily used for finance, for business intelligence, reporting, marketing cost, and so on. So you might say, hey Rod, this has nothing to do with generative AI. Why are you even bringing this up? Well, as we have been seeing, for example, recently, with all that is happening between the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, established media, and OpenAI, it is that there is this friction on which data is used to train a model. This on one hand. But on the other side is that we know that in order to have a language model being able to provide relevant queries, relevant replies, relevant outputs to our own input, it is only through fine-tuning or some sort of RAG architecture, basically providing data related to our problem, to our organization. And that's where we start seeing, hey, a company such as Snowflake does have a role to play in all this landscape, because already a large organization is using Snowflake and hosting all their business data. Think about marketing expenses, all their financial information, user activities, anything that is internal use, sometimes even documents and so on. So pretty much all company private information is already there. And if the idea is to have a use case such as chat with your data and type what was the revenue last month, well, it's obvious that this needs to be trained using the company information, and that for that it is necessary to make use of Snowflake somehow. And is Snowflake doing something in this direction? And why, as AI engineers, we have seen maybe less than other players in this space? Snowflake is doing a lot in this direction, that's for sure. They have so many services that let pretty much deploy LLM applications easily connected to the Snowflake data. You can imagine it's basically such as running a Docker container, a virtual image in the Snowflake infrastructure that has already all you need in order to do like the whole value chain, from the data processing to the training of the model to pretty much the final layer of presentation using something such as Streamlit. Snowflake pretty much wraps this up and offers it on their platform. But then it's a question of why, as AI engineers, we have seen less. Well, the way I see it is that so far Snowflake targets very clearly the role of the data engineer, which is this person responsible for creating these pipelines of data processing, data cleaning, and so on, and less so the AI engineer. Also because Snowflake does other activities that so far have not been that relevant for AI engineers, but this is about to change. which is related to lineage and general ownership. And going back to the example of here the New York Times, very soon it will be necessary to provide sources saying this answer came from this document, from this input, and so on. So being able to trace this back will become essential. Snowflake has tools for this type of lineage in the data warehouse of saying this result comes from all these queries and this table, and this is where it originally originated. This is one aspect. The other aspect is on observability. So where we need to have control on what people are querying in our system, who they are, where is it failing, and so on and so forth. So it's another area that more and more AI engineers have to do with it, have to deal with it. For example, to keep control of cost, but also things such as prompt injection and so on. And Snowflake has the tools for that. However, it is slowly that the AI engineer is realizing I need to start using those tools. It may also be a question of positioning. So where AI engineers rather associate a company such as Databricks for generative AI rather than Snowflake, even though both are very close on what they offer. So here, likely, Snowflake needs to do a larger effort in promoting their products better. It also has to do with the availability of resources. So like a funny anecdote, a couple months ago there was the Snowflake Summit where they presented new products, where there were tutorials and so on. And there was one showing how to build LLM apps live. It was a workshop. And I participated, I was there. But there was some problems with the code that didn't run. Then they wanted to provide some tokens and access to the platform for everyone, and then this became problematic, could not share. In the end, they had to take down the tutorial, and although we were supposed to get some badges for our participation, I don't think anyone got it, so it was a bit of an organizational issue there. And this shows you how also trying to have content and material and tutorials that are relevant is quite complicated, but also being able to show it to the right audience is another important hurdle. And I say this because likely the individuals participating in these workshops, they were not necessarily AI engineers, so they needed to be introduced to many things that for AI engineers would have been obvious. And likely had this been the case, then this workshop having gone a bit differently. What do I think about Snowflake and if we as AI engineers should be paying attention to it? For sure, we should be paying attention to Snowflake. And this is, as I was mentioning it, it is the company that all enterprises, medium-sized and even startups use to host their data. If we look at the market, there is pretty much Snowflake, Google BigQuery, and Amazon Redshift. But it is almost a fact that Snowflake is the leading player, and if it is not the leading player, it's the one that's growing the fastest. So the others might have a larger customer base, potentially, but definitely there is more adoption happening in Snowflake. So likely, while working together with companies, we'll be facing some Snowflake ecosystem. The other thing is that they own Streamlit. Streamlit is pretty much the established way for data scientists to create visual applications, to create interfaces, front ends, for any type of data manipulation. And we're seeing how they are adding more functionality to Streamlit in order to enable these generative AI use cases. More so, they're making it possible to do fine-tuning and cases such as text to SQL, or also embedding generation, so generate vector embeddings from documents, which will become very interesting for many use cases that are not even like the classical ones of generative AI, but more traditional ones related to data manipulation and processing. Just a simple example. Generate out of a set of documents vector embeddings to obtain just topics and use these topics to add this to a table as part of the metadata and enrich this table. This alone adds a lot of value to a company, and Snowflake pretty much has this functionality. I will not say clicking a button, but it's very close to that. So it is important as AI engineers to keep an eye on Snowflake. One last thing to mention about that, the topic of real-time data. At the moment, training any type of LLMs is something that is done in batches. And we know it's from GPT, where it has a cutoff date and it doesn't know the latest developments and so on. But this is changing, both on the space of these very large models, such as those from OpenAI, as well as smaller ones that companies create, that they fine-tune. And the technical barrier to create these real-time pipelines is non-trivial. It's actually quite complicated to be able to process information in real time, add it to an LLM, and make sure that it only is retrained or updated with this latest information. So think, for example, breaking news. It might only be 10 new articles that happened in the last hour or two that need to be incorporated into this LLM for news. And this is, with Snowflake, significantly easier than pretty much anything else that is out there. So as the topic of real-time LLMs becomes pervasive in our day-to-day, we'll also be seeing more and more use cases with Snowflake. We'll also be pretty much like forced to use Snowflake in order to enable those use cases. What do you think? Are you using Snowflake? Has it been on your radar whenever doing any type of LLM applications? Have you tried Streamlit? Or is all this new for you? Well, share it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Write your opinions. And remember to like, subscribe, and join our community of AI for hackers, the AI engineer.